Thank you, Kapil. Well, first of all, let me start with, I'm probably one of the most inexperienced media people in this room. I started off as a business strategist almost 12, 15 years back. And I still consider business strategy as my passion and as what I'm really good at. The fact that that business strategy translates itself into social media and helps me implement it better for customers, I mean, is just good luck, I guess. Let me actually first start with, just a correction. We are not home logic. We don't mind using the religious connotation wherever it helps, but actually we are open logic, bringing logic to online marketing. But as I said, wherever it helps, we do love the religious connotation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start off with a question. How long do you guys think social media has been around? Anyone? We all know internet started in late 80s, early 90s. We all know computing started a little few years before that. When did social media actually start?
It's been there for ages. It's been there for ages.
It's been there for ages. Okay. Anyone else? Why would you say that?
Because the basic reason of social media, the marketing is like, it's talking to people, right? That's what the inline message is. We as human beings, we love talking. And that's what. So it's been there till the time from when we have been born.
Absolutely, absolutely. So whenever I go into a customer meeting and the customer starts the meeting by prefacing, hey, social media has been around for almost 2 years in the Indian context. Well, if you were really early, maybe 3 years, and you guys have been doing social media since then, so you must know everything. You say, but actually, I don't think so. Social media has actually been around forever. And let me give you an example. I'm sure all of you guys have heard of Dale Carnegie. Anyone here who has not heard about Dale Carnegie? Okay, perfect. So Dale Carnegie said this almost 80 years now. How to influence people and make friends. And guys, do not read it from the perspective of what Dale Carnegie said. Please read it from the perspective of how you guys look at social media today. Become genuinely interested in others. Isn't that what all brands, everyone, every Facebook page, every Twitter, heck, not even Facebook page and Twitter, they are run by some smart brand people. Every individual tries to do that when they are tweeting or Facebooking or doing anything on social. Become genuinely interested in people. Smile. The social version of smile. Remember that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound in any language. We all say be personal. Isn't this being personal? Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk. Since morning we have been hearing about engage, hear, listen, respond. Isn't that what it's all about? Talk in terms of the other person's interest. Relevance. Sincerely make the other person feel important. Okay? We call it giving goodies in the social media world, but more on that when we get there. So really, if you look at it, communication hasn't changed. Which is why when Kirwa says that Kapil has been in the social industry for a long time, I say, actually I'm happy. I mean, that's what business strategy has always been about. How to take your message relevant to your business out to people on the road. Whether you take it through a newspaper, whether you take it through a print, whether you take it through Facebook, or whether you take it somewhere else. I mean, standing on top of an elevator, I mean, the Dharmendra style standing on top of a Pani ki tanki is, I mean, as good of a social media as you would get anywhere. But what has changed for us is how we consume it. That is where there is a lot of need for the current marketing team. 40 years ago, all media that we used to have was a pure one-way media. We had television, we had radios, newspapers, magazines. Could you talk back to a television? Could you talk back to a radio? Could you talk back to a newspaper? Nothing. And then came the age where you had some new media toys. It wasn't two-way, person to person, but it was human to a machine. So you would have your VCR, I mean, you could record some stuff. I mean, you could skip a song on the Walkman. You could do a variety of other things. And now, I mean, it's two-way all through. So how do we understand and how do we implement this from an Indian context is what we will focus on today. A lot of the presentations that you guys would have seen in the past would have done a lot of work talking about what is social media. How to implement social media, what does it mean for your customer, what are the nuances to remember and stuff like that. I will touch on some of those, but I will talk about those specifically from an Indian context. And social media being where it is in India right now, there is huge amount of potential, but if it is implemented the Indian way, the US way of implementing social does not work here. And we will mention some of the specific nuances here. Essentially, we are all in an age of conversation. I will go through some of these charts because I think we are running a slightly behind schedule, right? So I will go through some of these charts pretty quickly. These are the numbers for social. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on those. I mean, we all know these numbers. 100 million online users, 23% increase in number happening year on year. Huge amount of potential. 33 million online users are on social networking site. And interesting thing is that number is growing by a 45,000 new users on a daily basis. Okay. Now, when you guys are starting social media engagement, number one question that almost every organization needs to answer is, where does social media fit in your organization? Any answers to that? Where should social media fit in an organization? Is it a marketing function? Is it a customer support function? Is it a sales function? Is it a technical support function? Where does social media sit in your organization? So who do you make champion of social media in your company?
The customers.
Anyone? Guys, I was told I have to keep everybody awake after lunch. So, anyone?
Customers. Well, I think what you need to do is figure out who's interested in social media in your company. Some people are Twitter people, some people are Facebook people. Figure out who is what. Figure out which department they belong in, and then bring them all into your social media, team.
Wouldn't you in that scenario be fitting a structure which may not actually be relevant to your business or to your customers? If you look at, I have somebody who sits in tech support who is a great people. Let me just put social media for my company under him. Is that
No, I'm not saying under one person. I'm saying you will have one person who's look at a manager. What does a manager do? He doesn't always know his job, but he's managing people. Yeah, he's just a moderator, right? He's making sure the job gets done. So you will have one person who's doing that at the top level. But below that, so you have one person in the tech team who's managing the tech questions coming in from people, or giving out information that comes from the tech team for customers.
Sure, but the question is, where do you fit it? Who do you make the champion of social media in your organization?
Hello. Yeah. I believe that social media is basically a communication model. So it fits everywhere. Wherever you need communication, it goes there. So like everywhere.
Sure. So how about I say, actually there is no one single place, every organization where it should fit into. It depends on the organization. I mean, if you are an entertainment business, for example, we work with HBO, there is no real customer support. I mean, yeah, every once in a while somebody will come up and say, you censor the movies too much. Somebody is going to come up and say, I don't get HBO in my area. Somebody is going to come up and do some other complaining, but it's not customer support. It's normal interaction, engagement with the customer. So it sits within the marketing area. There are customers we work with who are retail brands. I mean, end of the day, their bottom line measure of social media is, did you generate enough sales for me that I can measure on an ongoing basis and see whether social is working for me? You can't make social media sit a brand person or a marketing person in that team. It puts you within the sales organization. So the real need of looking at social media is, number one, ensuring you know where does it fit in your organization, which comes from the initial layout of, here are the objectives you are looking to fulfill. And believe me, I've seen too many business screw up this particular aspect of social media. They don't know where to fit it. They will put it in an area in their organization where somebody else might not be thinking about it. Somebody in sales support will start answering technical support queries, he will start answering customer support queries, and the next thing you know, I mean, you've got a bunch of irate customers who all keep on getting wrong information. So no way to fit it and how to fit it. And of course, choose the channels that you work in correctly. Now let me get to the actual meat, now that I have opened you all up. Let me now get to talking about what are the nuances in the Indian social media, as they are slightly different, or as they kind of are not related to how we look at it from a global perspective.
Is there
Okay, I thought you were asking is there any reason for us calling them Indian nuances. So they are related to India. Most of the times, see, there is a research which says we Indians, one of the things we hate to do is to write. We love to give gyan. We love to disseminate knowledge. But we love to disseminate knowledge when it is person to person using my voice. We hate giving gyan when it comes to actually writing. So most of the statistics, most of the data, most of the reading, most of what you see in social media comes from your Western colleagues. The problem with that is, as great as that is, I'm not saying all of that is not relevant. The problem with that is you never actually get to understand how to look at it from an Indian perspective. So specifically, those brands, those agencies, those people who are working on implementing social for Indian companies, Indian brands and Indian consumers, they always get into a problem with that because some of the things are not related. This is probably one of the most important aspects of social in India and is very different than how you could look at it from a global perspective. Friends referral is the number one, the most important decision criteria in anyone doing any business. Let me ask a question. How many, one of you who has been on a vacation like in the last 10 days? Eric is not here, otherwise he would have been a perfect person for that. Where did you go?
I went to my hometown.
That's not vacation. that's not vacation. I go to my hometown as well, I don't call it vacation.
I went to Missouri.
You went to Missouri, okay? Why Missouri?
I wanted to go to a hill station.
Yeah, but why Missouri? I understand you went to, wanted to go to a hill station. Why did you choose Missouri?
I got good feedbacks about Missouri.
From
my friends.
Okay. That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. I didn't want that. Anyway, so friends referral, much more than what you would see in the Western market. Friends referral is the number one decision criteria for a customer to engage with, buy, or even look at a product. Whether it is travel, whether it is a movie, whether it is a retail product, whatever you are talking about, friends referral is the number one criteria.
No, sorry. Most of the media statistics show that that is the criteria for everywhere, not just in India.
Yes, but if you will look at the US marketplace, or if you will look at it from a global perspective, let me take travel as an example. If I have to visit a hotel, I will go to a TripAdvisor, the review sites in the US, I will read the review. The review may not be written by somebody who is friends with me. I will still consider that review as genuine. In India, in the culture that we live in, we look at all of those reviews with a lot of skepticism. So that skepticism is the reason why I say it's most important. I'm not saying it's not important in the US. In Indian context, it becomes the number one most important aspect of what you do in social.
But can I give
Sure, I got that. I got that. And please, when I put these statistics and these nuances out, I'm talking about what we have seen in the marketplace, what has worked for all the customers we work for.
Yeah.
I believe we should not generalize the fact. Here, I believe we should not generalize the fact that India does not make decisions looking at online things. Because for me, if you ask me,
Oh, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying friends referral is the number one decision criteria that an individual uses to evaluate whether to buy, engage, or look at a product or not.
certainly that's one part of it, because this is more of a social media sort of forum. I'm assuming that our interest is, obviously we all know that this is what is back, and I think it's going to be, it may be more in India and may not be that much in other places, but when it comes to social media, it's pretty much the same. In at least my age group, everybody, if it wants to buy an electronic item, would go look at blogs, and I'm sure that a lot of Indians who write a lot of blogs.
I understand. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just, so please do not listen to it as anything other than friends referral don't work. I'm just saying friends referral in the Indian social media is more important than friends referral anywhere else, and is more important than any other criteria that a customer uses to evaluate, look at, or engage or buy a product.
Can I make a point? Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
See, I think that's part of the story only, in the sense that if I talk to my friends about which location to go, which movie to go, if I talk to 5 friends, I might get 3-4 different opinions.
Sure.
Okay. So that is the starting point. That friends referral might be multiple. And so for that reason, that may not be the most critical part in terms of deciding, but most important part in terms of gathering data, the initial step. Okay, the final decision, that is where my values, my beliefs, my past experience, my which friends is closer, all these things will come into the picture.
Sure. So those are all criteria that are used.
So I'm saying that the referral is more information generating value, not the final decider.
Okay.
So maybe this is something which is related to demographics, probably in order to put rate levels ahead.
Actually, in our research, we see this across the board. In our research, so guys, in looking at time and everything, I will move ahead. If anybody wants to discuss this further, I will be available for the whole next 2 days. I'm actually involved in Bangalore on Monday as well. So if anybody wants to have a further discussion on this, we'll definitely do that. I'll be more than happy to engage. I will be more than happy to change my opinion if you are able to convince me on that. But this is what my research has shown. This is what work that we have done. Next. One of the things that we have seen, specifically as we look at how different brands are using and implementing social right now, is there is a move that is happening more in the Indian context from what was initially called as engagement to what we now consider as social desperation. This is an example of a post that I picked up from a page, I will not name the page, where they were talking about some LinkedIn posts. There are 8 people who liked the post. 8 people who liked the post. And the comment that goes on from the admin says, thanks for liking the post, did you find it useful? I don't know whether I actually, consider it engagement at all. So I actually recently coined this name, and there are a couple of articles that I'm writing on this which will be published in the next 2 weeks, called as Social Desperation the Indian Way. So please keep a watch out on for that. Next aspect, deep emotional connect. I mean, we guys, as individuals, as a culture, we like to connect with brands at a much more emotional, much more deep emotional level than some of the other countries. I mean, some of the examples that Shashank talked about in the morning in the airline space, you will see a lot of the connection is very emotional in nature. And specifically as you look at the Indian mechanism for evaluating and looking at businesses, it becomes much more important than it would be in some other parts of the world. This is an example of the page. Interestingly, in the afternoon, in the morning sessions, when we were looking at, I can't remember the tagline.
We don't just deliver flowers, we deliver.
We don't deliver flowers, we deliver happiness. That's actually a tagline of this company. Copyright. One of the major. So let me ask a question. Should Facebook posts have images which are bought? Or should you be able to buy, or should you be able to just take images from Google and use them?
Depends. Because
So it depends on?
Because if you're taking an image from, say, from a photography site or someone who's copyrighted and says that it belongs to him, you should give the credit.
Okay.
And if it does, if it lands, like it is put up for buying and things like this.
Okay.
So I think that should be. And even if it is not there, and even if you're putting up photograph on a Facebook, on your fan page, you should give due credit to that person who has posted.
Actually, the right answer is this, and we did a lot of research on this. We got killed by this a few months back. We used an image. We asked a website that can we use this particular image from your website. The website says, sure, go ahead. We use the image, a blogger comes up, the blogger says, hey, this image is actually mine. It was copyrighted. The website actually put it up as a pirated image. We were working for a large brand. They went to the brand. The CEO got mails. I got 8 mails. I got woken up at midnight on a Saturday night saying, what the heck are you guys doing? How can we have copyrighted images? All that. The answer is wherever you are using images. Number one, you need to go back to the person and seek permission before you use the image, even on a Facebook post. And number two, please always give credit. Always give credit. Just put a small link at the bottom. Sometimes you don't want to really give credit, make the link so small that nobody will ever notice it. But put the link. Do the right legal thing. It's going to become a major problem for brands otherwise. I mean, in this particular scenario, the one I'm listing out here, and we do that. What interestingly happened with us was we used to take permissions. Okay. So this is actually we are talking about Yata, the travel company. We used to take permissions. And every time the bloggers will come back and say, yes, use it, or some of them will say, no, pay us money, and we will say, hey, we don't pay money for this. We give credit. So if they don't allow, we don't use it. One time we missed it, and we got killed for it. The CEO, the customer engagement head, everyone got mails, and I got a nice, interesting weekend. Confidential and proprietary information. We all know how, we all have looked at some of the cases in the past where employees have been fired, where people have gotten into problems. I think there is a case going on right now where ITC Bhutan has sued one of its prior, some agency that used to work for it. I don't want to use names, but yeah, same one. So, need to be very careful with what is considered as confidential information and how can it be shared. If you see the two posts that I put up here, these are posts actually that were done by me sitting, working all-nighters on some brands. And you will see all of these have references to the work we are doing, but none of them have any mention of the customer we are working for, because at that time, the project we were working on was confidential. I mean, Bollywood that we were working on at the time was being done for Lufthansa Airlines. James Bond was being done for HBO. European travel was being done for Yatra. Different customers, different projects, not released in the market, so there is no way you can put it on. Be very careful when you do social about this.
How is this an Indian nuance, not a global?
Well, it's a global nuance. In India, we tend to take a lot of liberties with that. The concept of confidential information is not as prevalently understood in the country, is why it becomes important for us. In US, it is already an acceptable fact that, hey, you have a confidential information. Number one, in US, all brands are always very sensitive to ensuring appropriate CDAs and NDAs are in place. In India, a lot of us, we don't do that.
The example of Microsoft is from US.
Well, the Microsoft one is from the US. I just wanted to show that there are people who have gotten fired for this. Authenticity and transparency. Again, know where do you want to implement, know what you are looking at doing. For a lot of brands, they will get into social and some customer will come up and ask a question and they will say, hey, hold off, can't answer. We did a campaign for the government of Delhi almost 3-4 months back in the monsoon season, where they were looking at planting 1 million trees during the month of July and August. So essentially, the 9 weeks of monsoon, the Delhi monsoon, they were looking at planting 1 million trees. The one problem that we had to work very hard at ensuring the government department is okay with, was giving information out. We got into the campaign, we said there will be saplings that will be available for people to pick up on a certain day. Well, it's a government project. I mean, it got delayed by 3 days. You know what, even if it was not a government project, it happens. It got delayed by 3 days. Nobody in the government would let us put there, okay, till we actually went and fought for it. Nobody will let us put there that we screwed up, it got delayed by 3 days. Okay? Let the people keep guessing. Getting into social just doesn't work. Always know it will be about being authentic and transparent. Going out and accepting your mistakes is one of the fundamental aspects of what you want to do in social. Employee social media policy. Again, it is something which is relevant globally, but something that we miss out in the Indian context. I'll actually use one example from on Logic only. There was this person who used to work in the company. She was having a bad season with her husband. Was getting into some problems in the family, and all of that frustration got taken out in the job. Fucking job. Has learned one thing at work: never argue with idiots. They really do take you down. Feeling sick, fucking job. Never. The person got fired. The person did not get fired for putting their views out on social. The person got fired because there is discipline, there is a policy for how employees are allowed to or not allowed to use social. Every company, every organization needs to have their own policies. This is what works for a social media agency. I will not say this is what works for every brand. In a lot of brands, the employees would be allowed to put out their views. So, as an organization, as a brand, always have employee social media policy fully defined. In our case, we had it fully defined. Do not talk customers, do not talk company. If you have a problem, come back and take permission.
Where's the credit for Dilbert there?
Say that again, please.
Where's the credit for Dilbert there?
It's actually right up there. 2000 Scott Saddam incorporated.
So that's Dilbert's copyright. Where's your attribution to this?
But it's already there. Dilbert.cartoonist@gmail.com, Dilbert.com.
Oh, that Dilbert copyright.
It's already there. Well, we all know this. India is cricket. When you are implementing social for India, always look at cricket as one of the drivers. But having said that, Do not blindly implement cricket-based comments or cricket-based engagement on every community. I'll give an interesting example for that. We built this game for called Yatra Cricket Manager for Yatra.com. Anybody here who played or interacted with this game? Well, the brief that came to us was associate Yatra with cricket. Now, how we looked at it, and the reason we were able to even think about or comprehend making this game was, we actually did a little bit of evaluation saying, what do cricketers do the most other than playing cricket? Well, that is actually number 3.
Spot fixing.
Okay. What else? They socialize. Okay. What else? If you actually think about the amount of hours spent by a cricketer, the number 1 thing is they playing cricket. Number 2 is they traveling. Number 3, 4, 5 will be endorsement, spot fixing. What was the last one? Socializing, partying, whatever else. But number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is cricket. Number 2 is travel. So we came up with this concept of Yatra Cricket Manager, where we said cricket is so inherent to travel, or travel is so inherently capable or inherently integrated with cricket, we absolutely can make a game. And which is where we looked at how can we have a team manager who will take people from one location to the other location using a simulated engine. It's a strategy game. You do whatever decision you make, it will give you either a morale point because you boosted morale of the people by taking them first class. But hey, you took them first class, you spent more money. Or it will give you an option to improve their fitness level. So somebody might you might arrange a pep talk with a cricketer, you might do a variety of different things, different hurdles that we integrated into the game. And as a strategy game, was a very successful game for us, and we did it during the time of Cricket World Cup. Next, India is Bollywood. Again, when I say India is cricket, India is Bollywood, please do not look at it as everywhere, go to every brand and just integrate Bollywood, cricket. Look at whether it works for you. But these are drivers of conversations in the social media world that we all need to be very cognizant of and integrate if possible with our brands. And of course, when it is cricket meets Bollywood, don't make use of it. This is an example of a campaign that actually we did for Bollywood. Lufthansa Airlines was looking at integrating some ethnic marketing campaigns in the US market for the NRI community. The brief was very clear. We are only looking at talking to NRIs or maybe slightly expanded to the Southeast Asian community who lives in the US. And we came up with this concept or this campaign called as Salam Bollywood and Celebrations. There were 2 different campaigns we did, wherein we ran some Bollywood-based contests. Now the question is, why Bollywood or cricket? We did some research and found out in the NRI community, Bollywood is much more important than either cricket or politics. It's the number 1 driver of engagement, number 1 driver of conversations for Indians abroad. Not for people who are living in India. For us, cricket is the rock. Bollywood is number 2, definitely number 2. Politics is definitely number 3. If you look at the US market for NRIs, Bollywood is number 1. And again, aware of NRIs and Indians abroad, which is where I was talking about the Bollywood campaign. Now, most of the brands, when they start their social media strategies, or when they start looking at social media engagement, the moment they get to 100 fans, they start looking at, okay, so what's the contest? You know what? Start a page, get to 100 fans. I'm sure there will be 2 people who will come and post on your page asking, when is the first contest? There are officially, and we have officially identified some people, there are official freebie hunters on Facebook, whose job is to go participate in different contests on every page on Facebook. Every page. And they will just keep on engaging and keep on answering the questions and they will whatever they will. Beware. So I'm by no means suggesting do not do any contest, but look at true, honest, pure engagement first. Contests, awards, goodies, they can be a means of keeping them more engaged. They can't be the means of generating engagement. I mean, HBO community is a perfect example. There are numerous, there are probably 5 key English movie channels in the Indian space. All 5 of them are very much social. All 5 of them have communities which are at least 2 lakh plus. all of the communities that we see, the engagement is primarily driven only through contests. Whether it is giving blackberries for free, or whether it is giving some other goodies for free, or whether it is something else. So there is some kind of an engagement, whether it is giving a trip to Oscars or what have you. But most of the engagement being driven is done purely on the basis of giving out contests, goodies and all. What we have looked at is we don't give out much goodies in the HBO page. I mean, it's a 5.5 lakh people community. Yes, we will probably do an engagement once every week, or once every 3 weeks, or once every 4 weeks. But we do not give out contests and awards and goodies on a very regular basis. And it helps us keep the community in a very engaged manner, focused, talking about movies, talking about Hollywood, talking about what the customer really cares about. This is an example of a very interesting application we did for HBO. No contest, no awards, no goodies, pure engagement. So they were coming up with this James Bond festival, which was airing on HBO for the last entire month, ended on the 5th of November, actually last Saturday. They came to us with a brief saying, hey, what do we do in the social space wherein we can start talking about James Bond in the Indian scenario? And we said, you know what, if you actually look at a lot of James Bond related engagement in India, people may not be as wanting to talk about James Bond, but guess what, everybody is going to want to talk about the Bond girls. Everybody. Who's not going to want to talk about a Bond girl? No? Whether it is Honey Rider, whether it is Pussy Cat, whether it is whoever else, even the names. The names itself are so interesting, we wouldn't post them on Facebook. We have to put stars in place. Everybody wants to talk. I will say, what better than to start this engagement by building an application, and we have everybody come up and they will select a face of a Bond girl, they will select her hairdo, they will select the shades that she wears, they will select the dress that she wears, they will select her style quotient. Now style quotient can be holding a cigarette, holding a martini glass, holding a gun, what have you. Select the shoes, make your Bond girl for tonight. So before you watch the movie at 11 o'clock, give up your own personalized Bond girl for tonight. And then of course the usual share it with your friends, tag people. No, build engagement around this. No contests, no awards. Absolutely fantastic promotion. Absolutely fantastic. So these are the kind of...
Is there any difference in the strategy, social media strategy of HBO India versus HBO International? Because since you're saying it is, you're talking about Indian nuances, we'd like it to be a comparative basis, so we know where we are strong and where, how to bring the population behaves from an international perspective.
So to answer that question, I don't know. I actually don't have any information about the overall strategy that HBO internationally uses. India is a distinct unit and we work with the Indian counterparts. I can tell you the difference in strategy by looking at and evaluating between Star Movies and Pix and Movies Now and HBO and Z Studio and WV11.
What was your brief like?
Okay, in this particular case, our brief was promote Bond Festival. So there are 21 movies that will be shown every night on HBO, every night after the 9 p.m. movie. So really, normally at 11 o'clock. Every night there will be a Bond movie that will be shown, promote the movie. Get more engagement, get more thoughts, get more people talking about James Bond and more people actually watching the movie. In fact, in the entire 1 month campaign, from a social perspective, we did absolutely zero contest. There was a contest they were airing on air which we promoted on social, yes we did, but absolutely no contest at all for the entire month.
Was there any particular reason for that strategy?
See, what we have seen, specifically when we go to entertainment brands, contests become a reason for only freebie hunters to engage. If there is no true engagement, there is no true reason for the person coming in and looking at information. It's just there are people, as I said, I mean, we have officially identified people who are pure freebie hunters. I will make a 100 people page and I know the, right, as soon as it reaches 100 people, these list of what, 10, 15 guys, one of them will come up and say, hey, when is the first contest? I don't want to build pages which are based purely on engagement, based on contests and awards and goodies. This doesn't relate to the brand attributes then. What we wanted to do is get people genuinely interested in talking about James Bond.
And how many people responded?
Now this particular application, I think it got used by close to 40 to 50,000 people in a month.
What was the gender ratio?
Gender ratio was mostly males. Well, the promotion strategy was mostly males. Okay? I don't think too many women would want to sleep with their own created Bond girl for the night. Most of us guys would, right? So the campaign strategy was, well, it's James Bond. So James Bond is essentially, more in the Indian context, more of a male phenomenon. We are talking about people who are between the age group of 15 to 45 only, and we are talking primarily males. I don't want to exclude anybody who is 45 years plus if they are a Bond fan, but the brief for the community that we were targeting was 15 to 45 male community.
Yeah, my name is Arnath. I just have to ask you this, I couldn't help it. You talked about it was targeted at men. Women will not spend the night with somebody like this. Sounds very sleazy. And coming from HBO and Bond, which is a brand, I don't know, the implementation was too sleazy. That's how I feel. I'll tell you why. If we're talking about social media in the long term, this is a 1-month campaign, but it has hit the brand. I find it very sleazy.
Okay, so let me absolutely fair point. Absolutely fair point.
One more point.
Sure.
Bond is more about Bond rather than the girls in the Bond film. I'm sure if you take a poll, if you do a research, I don't know how you've been doing it, there would be a lot of women who look at Bond, you know, Sean Connery and all those guys, as their men.
Sure.
The other way around. So this is actually very sleazy.
Fair
I don't think this is Indian nuisance. It is nuisance for me right now.
Okay. Sure. Fair enough. So let me give you a couple of aspects of that. When you say that Bond is primarily, or Bond is famous as Bond, if you will look at the Indian marketplace, in fact, we even have the numbers after the entire campaign. Some of the older Bond movies are not very famous in India. A lot of people don't know who Roger Moore is. A lot of people don't know who Timothy Dalton is. I mean, see, I'm not talking about us guys sitting here talking about social media. We all know everything about Bond. I'm talking about the normal HBO population. I'm talking about the 16, 17, 18-year-old who was grown up watching Pierce Brosnan. And the only Bond he knows is Pierce Brosnan or Daniel Craig. They don't relate to Sean Connery. They don't relate much to Timothy Dalton. A lot of people don't even know the name of Roger Moore. So, and when I'm spending time here talking to you about the Bond campaign, I will use this word saying, hey, the reason we created this is because we wanted people to sleep with the Bond girl for the night. Okay? That's not the messaging that will go out when we do the campaign. The messaging that will go out with the customer will be to engage the customer, allure him into having a true, real-to-life experience with Bond. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the overall population that has watched Bond movies in India, you will find that the skew is primarily male. Primarily male. And I'm no one to put any judgment on that. These are the numbers that my customer gave me saying, hey, it's a primarily male audience. If you say it's a female audience, please send me statistics. I will take it and I will share it with HBO, and I'm sure they will want to listen to it and work on it. Another very interesting aspect, if you look at this campaign, James Bond movies have been shown by almost all movie channels in the past 1 year. Almost all movie channels. So we did not want to come up with another, hey, here is James Bond, look at it kind of a campaign. Not going to work very well. Everybody has done it. So we wanted to add a twist to it. We wanted to add something which the customer can truly engage with. Again, something very important, very interesting, very crucial for brands to look at. Beware of frauds. How many people here know what a fraud is? Okay, so let me first define a troll. A troll is an individual who is looking to create trouble. It's sometimes the trouble might even be genuine trouble. I mean, you can look at this example that I have posted here. There is a genuinely irate customer who booked a ticket, did not get the refund in time, and is coming up and posting. My question is, why do you want to post 8 times in 2 minutes? Why can't you just put a post, give the time some time to respond, and then come back? It will take time. Okay, so a troll is an individual looking to create trouble. Let me give you some other examples of that. But actually, here is an interesting one. have paid a fine of 300 and taken receipts, went back and taken pics of where I was parked, will put on their Facebook, but it's a lost matter. I've known this individual, seen the postings, looked at what all goes on, I can tell you. You don't want to mess with that. So when you are building your social media strategy, there is a list of some 200, 250 people which we know to avoid. When we work on brands where we know they will be interested, we actually formulate guerrilla accounts from where we will join them and we will keep a check on what they are posting. But we will never follow them. They may choose to follow us, we have no way of controlling that. We will never follow them. Okay? Just because we know these people will come back and they are just looking to create trouble. You put a tweet with a spelling mistake and they will come back and say, this brand screwed up. You do something, I mean, you are talking to an irate customer and you are resolving this problem and this person will come up and say, hey, don't leave this brand, they will pay you more money. Not interested in that. So beware of trolls as you are looking at your social media strategy. It is something that in the global, again, it's not an Indian phenomenon only, but globally most of the brands have already been sensitized to that and they have implemented it. In India, we haven't seen anyone looking at trolls at the rate at which we are going. Go ahead.
Recently, I noticed when the Ravan promotion was going on Twitter, and some people were writing bad about the movie, there were some like counter trolls or people possibly appointed by the agency. Has that kind of approach ever worked, or have you tried that when you plan people who say nasty things to nasty people and and kind of snub the voice? Is that an approach you've tried or recommend, or any thoughts on that?
Meet me afterwards. It's a guerrilla marketing strategy. See, I will not say it's unethical to do that.
Don't plan it.
Okay, but don't plan. Don't plan. Every once in a while there will be a customer. We will go genuinely respond to them. So what I have done, there is a university that we used to work for, and there is this customer who keeps on going on and on about, hey, they started this particular program in IP and copyright laws. It's never going to be successful. There is nobody who will ever want a job in this, and blah 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 blah. I actually went in, not as a proxy account. I went in as the CEO of OMLogic and commented there, hey, I run a social media agency called OMLogic. If you have two people who understand copyright and IP laws and are engineering background, please send them, I will hire them today. Okay, so we counteracted that. And we not only did this from my ID, we actually had a few other people also go in and respond to them. And some of those are people, I asked, we pulled up a favor by asking, hey, can you please go comment there and give your views on that. But it's not a counter-troll strategy wherein we will make proxy accounts and do that. It's a genuinely engagement strategy where we will genuinely respond to that person. So there is a thin line between how do you ensure you are on the right side of the law versus you are doing something unethical. Just ensure you are on the right side of the law. Be cognizant of brand tonality. I mean, every brand has their own means of how they want to talk. For some brands, namaste is not allowed. For some brands, hey dude is like, do you really want to destroy my brand? For some brands, yo pal, why would you ever talk like that? No. Every brand has their own tonality, their own approach, their own understanding of what is acceptable. Be aware of that. And always ensure your social media strategy takes that into account. I'll give you a few examples of that. Never talk about teachers or education. No, we work for Teachers Watch. Never talk about teachers or education. Teachers is in the name. It already is a problem. Hey, it just happens that the guy's name who founded it is William Teacher. We didn't want to make it anyway descriptive to education industry, but it is. So never talk about teachers or education. Can't use kick-ass. We actually built an application for them, and the application said it's a kick-ass application. And I got a hate mail from the marketing head saying, absolutely not. How the heck can you use kick-ass in our brand? We work for Web Cinemas. One of their founders passed away, and one of enthusiastic social media executives in the company went on their Facebook page and said, RIP Mr. and his name. And I got a call back from the brand saying, how can you use an acronym when you are talking about our founder? I mean, I was shell-shocked because I said the same thing in sleep last night. Right? But it's a brand, they have their own tonality, they have their own understanding of what is acceptable or not acceptable. HBO can't combine faces of two actors to run an identify the actor contest. The ones that you see, I don't know, do you guys watch TV at midnight? Okay, so the kind of contest you see at midnight on TV, where you have two actors combined into one and you have to identify the faces of both, those kinds of contests can't use it. Do not write anything promoting no work. You know what? It was a beautiful, beautiful day in Mumbai. A slight drizzle going on. Nobody wanted to go to work. We just put that on their Facebook page and it tweeted it from them. Why are you promoting no work? Someone talking bad about the chief minister. I mean, absolutely not acceptable. This is where we were doing a campaign for the Delhi government Department of Environment and Forest. Their response was ban it. Don't delete the comment. Don't, I mean, these are really notorious people. Just ban them. And we said, you know what? You will ban them, then you make a Paxi account. Don't ban them. Handle them. Respond to them. Ask them what their genuine queries. If they still come back and if they still are only interested in putting something derogatory, yes, we will ban them, delete them, do whatever. We will handle them. But do not do it at every instance somebody comes in. But the important aspect is know your customer. Understand the brand you are working for. Every brand has a different approach. I can tell you, we work with competitors, and competitors in the same space have different understanding of what tonality is acceptable.
As we're talking about like kind of social media is quite new to brand as well as to us also. It's like almost 2 or 3 years of time everybody has learned to use it. So like what are the terms you mentioned about the brand should not have this thing or should not have this thing? Don't you think that brand should be educated that the social media is not having much value? You can't like kind of ask people to come in a certain way or not to do that thing, but you must learn to overcome it and then you learn the media people.
Yes.
So this trend actually works out good when you are doing the any of the other work of the website or in the other traditional media. But in social media, I feel like we should be able to overcome.
Sure. So let me ask you a question. Should terrorists be taught not to do terrorism, not to propagate terrorism?
No, we need to overcome from that. And the brand should
I got the point. I got the point. Absolutely not here. Should terrorists be taught not to propagate and not to engage in terrorism? Yes.
Yes.
Can I do that today? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But will that resolve the problems that exist today? No. I will still have to have anti-terrorism campaigns. Hey, my problem here is if I don't accept this brand tonality and over a period of time educate them, I will be fired by the time we get to the place where he's even willing to listen. So your point is absolutely valid. You need to go in and you need to educate the brand. But you can't go in as a UP and say, hey, here is our social box, do it or don't do it. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, teachers is actually a perfect example of that. When we started off with them, they will nitpick on every word that we will write. Every word we will write on social, they will nitpick on. Now, over a period of time, the marketing head there, who is a fairly elderly gentleman, has never used again. I think Shashank mentioned in the morning, right? These airline guys, the senior sitting there, the 60-year-old, heard about Facebook first time from their granddaughters and grandsons. Exactly. Now, you have to look at changing them. You have to look at building the mindset, but do it slowly. Do it in incremental steps. First of all, accept that there is the brand tonality to begin with. Make it slightly, improve on it slightly, implement it, show them it works, and they will accept. Improve it ever so slightly again, show them it works, and they will be okay. And then, incrementally you get them to where you can use whatever you want. Be as social as you want, but do not play with the brand. And some of the brands are actually, they might have a requirement to be more premium. They might have a requirement to have the tonality that they do. Don't fight it. Accept it. Some brands will always have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a quick question. This is a little bit off topic, but I just want to understand. Do you have permission from your clients to actually mention
Yes.
names?
Yes.
And with these sort of examples that you have mentioned,
The examples in social?
Yeah.
Oh, I have only picked up screenshots from Facebook. I've only picked
some
up
of the
screenshots from
examples that you
Facebook.
have mentioned, so I think there are a lot of influential people here that we say will probably go and share their thoughts about this particular brand to their friends, and then it will be a viral marketing. So
Yeah, but these are all thoughts. These are all Facebook screenshots that we picked up. So we are not going in and coming up and talking about business strategy for someone. And most of the time when we come and engage in conversations in conferences and all, we do tell our customer that, hey, we will be mentioning about you and talking about the successes that you have generated or what we have done for you in the social media space.
Awesome. Just a quick point, keep the questions coming along, but when you have, can I request you guys to stand up so others can see who you are? And just quickly introduce yourself before you ask a question. That'd be
Yeah, my name is Ajit and I work with KPMG. So I had a question around brand, and I realized that brands put some scope that you can't do this thing or that. But in this context, I just want to understand your perspective on two things, which is social media, which is one-to-one conversation, so maybe conversations have to be candid. Right, that's one thing. Second, it's writing on the internet, which has been usually free, for all the purposes, information is free. So I've heard a lot of can't do. So I got a bit stifling. So how do you go back to the mind and say, otherwise whatever you put on the media or social media, it will be institutions against the users. It will again become like a company, right? So it takes out the flavor of social or one-to-one engagements. How do you handle that?
That in a lot of ways summarizes the challenge that every social media agency and every brand faces today. How do you ensure that while you are doing social, the so-called one-on-one interaction, taking the brand out is actually social and is not brand-to-people interaction? How you do that is over a period of time, build up engagement methodologies for the brand such that they get associated more at a one-on-one level. Social media for any brand. When will social media for a brand be most successful? When the brand does not need to participate in that social media. So how we look at it is till the point that as a brand we have to go in and keep on intervening in the social media implementation, we have not achieved our objective. I mean, it's counterproductive to the fact that the day that happens, I will be the first one who will get fired. But you know what? That's the ultimate social media. But most brands will not get there in the next 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years. Okay? So you keep on building these incremental engagement strategies so that you can associate yourself with your customers, with your prospects, with people at an individual level who care about your brand.
My name is Manish. I'm looking with strategy office. My question is it's not about the branding, but they can be the fastest internet data manufacturing company. What actually happened is they have a very solid Facebook profile and a Twitter profile. The thing is their product sucks. But the thing is when I try to complain to the Twitter profile or the Facebook profile, what they actually have done is they have banned me. And the next day, when I try to create a different profile and try to spam them, I got really irritated. What happened is they disallowed comments and disallowed the same.
Sure. What was the brand? Let me hope I was not the agency. No, we never do that for any of our customers.
I don't want to tell you the name.
But yeah, see, that is bad implementation of social media. Don't go social if you want to do that. So, which is actually what I was going to talk about in this particular slide. Ensure this brand is okay with others' views. I mean, people will come up, they will have good things to say about you, they will have bad things to say about you, and you know what? They will have ugly things to say about you. And more often than not, we all love to talk more about the ugly things we face than the good things we face.
In that case, what would you suggest to that brand? I mean, they have a verified Twitter profile.
Sure. Let's talk offline about that. I think that's an interesting issue, which is a specific individual issue. It's not a brand issue. So your question is not how should the brand what should the brand have done. Your question is what should you do?
No, the brand.
Well, the brand should have answered to you. The brand should have allowed comments. The brand should have listened to you. Should have engaged in some conversation and should have ensured your experience with the brands gets handled. Unless, of course, there are scenarios where as I said, there are props. I determine people, they put in a complaint, I went back, responded, we offered them even a freebie, we offered them something free, we did whatever, we did what we considered as a very fair, justified response to what problem they had. If they still don't accept it, you know what, the customer is just looking for trouble, I will move ahead.
No, the thing is their social media team is doing a bad job. I mean, when I posted on Twitter, they actually asked me to DM my phone number and stuff. The thing is their product sucks. Even though the social media thing is really good, the product sucks at the base level. What would they do? I mean, what kind of social media team is there?
Not much. Not much.
It's a broad
broader conversation, and I'll cover it in about 3 minutes.
Okay. Let me keep moving on. Know before you respond. One of the other mistakes that a lot of brands make when they are doing social. Now, I was talking about ensure you know where social fits in your organization. This is an example of somebody who came in, he posted a comment on the HBO Facebook page, and 8 hours later he came back and he said, so guys, shall I expect a reply? And you know what? He's not going to get a reply. He's not going to get a reply. I don't care whether the customer thinks I'm the worst brand in the world. He is not going to get a reply because his question needs to be answered by the legal department. I don't know the response for this. I am not going to be this cool social media guy who will respond to the query even though that query is not something which is in my purview to respond. If it takes 4 days for HBO to come back and give me the official response, you know what? He will get a response after 4 days. I can't mess with it. I don't know legality of why HBO does what they do. No, I won't talk about that.
No, but what you have to do was at least tell him that.
We did that. We DM'd him. So we handled that. We sent him a message. We told him we will respond back, but we can't go on Facebook and respond to it. I mean, even in the message that we sent him, we simply said, hey, you're going to have to wait. We are getting legal opinion on why it was done the way it was done. And we got legal opinion after that, and you know what, 2 days later we did go back and we did respond to him. But that was a legal opinion.
Did you respond here saying, we're getting you an answer from legal, we'll be back?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
He actually posted the same query.
Yeah.
He posted the same query 2-3 times. We responded on another query and said, no, this is the legal response, official response from HBO. This is why we did. This is why the channel did what they did, and settled it that way. We don't respond till we know the answer.
Hi, I'm Ashok. I work for Logix Microsystems. This is a hypothetical question. This has not happened to me or my customers. But let us say a company has fired somebody, and that person goes onto social media and starts spreading some untruths about that company. How do you think the company can actually handle that?
Please let me know once you read that. You have to see. There are a couple of things you can do. Number one, when you are disassociating with people, okay, try to ensure you take care. So your question is only that they went on social media and they dished about you, or they talk bad about you.
It is a hypothetical question that may happen.
Sure. Actually, it has happened. I mean, not just employees. Hey, customers do that. Suppliers do that. Sure. Everybody does that. So what you would have to do is what is considered as a good engagement strategy. Respond back to the person with some facts. Ensure, and when you are responding to this person with the fact, of course the community is listening, and just leave it at that. Don't ban him, don't do anything. I mean, these guys are going to come back and write something somewhere anyway. Let them put in what they want to. Keep on responding to that. See, one interesting strategy that we have seen work is somebody comes up and says, this brand sucks. We will go in and say, understand that, thanks a lot for your feedback. What exactly is the problem you faced? And he will again come back and say, there are people who will do that. He will again come back and say, this brand sucks. Again say, what problem did you have? And he will again come back. And the third time he comes back, we will say, if you have a genuine problem, please let us know and we will do whatever we can to resolve it. Otherwise, we will just hide the person.
You can't ban him because he might just be tweeting or something.
No, we can. And we have banned people. Hey, for anyone who thinks do not ever ban people in social media, that's not true. Try not to ever have to ban people in social media is the actual reality. There will be people which you just have to ban. I mean, they keep on coming. There are people we have seen who will go to a page, they will go to the last 50 sections or last 50 posts on the page, or on every page put their comment. Can't do anything other than banning them. You will remove those comments, hide them, they will come back and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. So, sometimes if cleanup is required, we tend to always avoid doing that. So this is actually a misnotion that people have that do not ever ban. As I said, do not ban people left, right, and center. Do whatever you can to resolve their problem. If you are absolutely not able to do, ban. I'll just take 2 more minutes. Okay, I'll just run through this very quickly. Racial is okay, religious is not. The kind of humor that we as a culture accept, religious humor for us is actually not acceptable. I will show you another example of the kind of humor that is not acceptable.
So no Santa jokes?
No. Try to avoid that. Okay, have a Santa Manta jokes. Sardar jokes as you can get away with. Have Rajnikant jokes. Don't have a South India North India conversation, have Rajnikant jokes. Use characters. People are having engagement around those characters. Just don't bring religion into the equation. This is an example, another example of never being irreverent. And it is something which is in a lot of ways acceptable in the Western market. In India, it's not. There is one guy, actually, it's a guy who works in my company. He totally disagrees with the Anna Hazare philosophy, ideology. And while Anna Hazare was going through his campaign, he put this as his Facebook profile. Okay, now, no endorsement from me for him or Anna Hazare at all. He put this profile pic, he got, it's a person's view. He is saying Anna Hazare, and Indian, for lack of a better word. Anna Hazare, Indian. Okay, it's a personal view. It's nothing wrong. But look at the kind of comments. Hey Nimit, I am unfriending you as a Facebook friend. Hey Nimit, how are things? Yeah, I actually तेरे clip के बारे में सोचा. So, I mean, basically everybody coming in and saying, hate you for doing this. You can never call Anna Hazare an idiot. I will unfriend you. I will ban you. I will never talk to you again if you don't discontinue this. I mean, it's a person's view. But if you are representing a brand, never do that. Never do that. Irreverence is not allowed as brands. English in the English. Be very careful what your brand is okay with. And actually look at what their customer segment is. For some brands, it might be more European language. For some brands, it might be more American language. For some brands, it will be more English. Again, if the brand has a prominent southern presence, then of course do not use English. People may not understand it. Ensure you know the slangs, conversations, ensure you know that weather and everything changes. So when I mentioned the brand where there was a very interesting, very nice day in Mumbai and we put a feels like no work today. We did it for a brand where we knew a huge chunk of their presence was Mumbai and we localized that post to Mumbai. Allow personalization of refer a friend. Okay, as I said, this one goes to the first one that we talked about. Friends are one of the most important aspects of how people look at social media. Timing of the post. Be very sure of when do you want to do the post, whether it is over the weekdays, over the weekend, what time of the day. I mean, there are brands where we do the post, first post goes in at 9:30 in the morning. There are brands where the first post goes in at 10:30 in the morning. There are brands where the first post goes in at 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the morning. Again, it depends on who is the customer segment, what are their patterns of visiting Facebook or engaging on Facebook. If you are doing ORM for a brand, please show posts by FB admin only. I can't tell you how many brands we see which don't follow this very simple thumb rule. If you know people are going to come complaining about the brand, keep those posts in not the default version. Of course, you look at them and respond to them and handle them. Just don't show to the world that everybody has a problem with my brand. Specifically, brands who do a lot of logistics, who do a lot of distribution, who do a lot of ongoing customer engagement, and there is, of course, always a reason for them to screw up. Ensure you don't show those by default. Okay, I'm actually going to skip some of the case studies because I think we already talked about most of them.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
This actually
I'm going to have to step in. We are really running behind time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. We'll talk offline separately about this. Thanks a lot, everybody.